I really took sales to be like a profession. From the day I learned exactly what it was, I said, okay, this is what's going to take me out of this life and give me the life that I've dreamed of.
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you are enjoying this show and getting some great value for your investing goals, let us hear about it. Leave us some honest feedback with a rating and review. It helps us, but it also helps other listeners find this show for their investing goals. And listen, if you haven't done it already, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, today we've got a great show. We are going to be talking to Scott Morse. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the Mastermind button today. Now, Scott Morse is a true disruptor and outsider to the real estate industry, leveraging his sales acumen garnered over 20 years of high-ticket sales combined with a ruthless entrepreneurial appetite. Scott Morse has a story unlike any other. Now, he has a deep background working with multi-million-dollar vacation membership sales companies and doing a host of other things. But he got into the REI space looking to identify ways to find and generate leads. So we're going to let Scott get into more detail of what he's doing in his company, but I want to bring him onto the show. Welcome, Scott Morse.
John, brother, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the opportunity to come on here and talk about all things sales, multifamily, marketing, et cetera, man. That's my passion.
I love it, man. Scott, I went over your bio and your background at a very high level. Why don't you take
Yeah.
2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Jeez. So it's like you said in the intro, I was really blessed at 20 years old to get a job doing high ticket sales. And for me, it was an opportunity. And I try to take that value and put it in these kids you see behind me. But, I wasn't college educated, John. I didn't have, I was a blue collar manual labor guy. And I happened to stumble into this opportunity and boom, all of a sudden I'm doing high ticket sales. But the thing that clicked for me, John, I was like, wait a minute. I can use my lips, my words, my communication as a true asset, a true tool. So I really took sales to be like a profession. I mean, from the day I learned exactly what it was, I said, okay, this is what's going to take me out of this life and give me the life that I've dreamed of. And so from one high ticket sales to another, to ultimately starting my own company. But I'm a huge advocate of the power of communication, the power of persuasion. These things allow you to get into circles and to get into financial environments otherwise aren't available for most people.
Yeah, man. Tell me about your company and what you guys do today.
So this is Lamassu Leads behind me. I'm currently on our sales floor. We got about 12,000 square feet, 160 some agents currently right now. And all that we're doing right now is calling for distressed homeowners in the United States, asset holders in the United States who are potentially looking to divest their property at a discount because they have some type of pain in their life. And so that's kind of what this whole agency does behind me. I have my own investment office, but I service about 30 some other investment offices throughout the United States where I send them leads in their markets and they're doing the same thing. They're like, hey, here's a distressed seller. Here's their pain points. Let's see if we can't make a number work.
Yeah, man, I love it. So let's talk through a couple things, right? You talked about, being 20, getting into high ticket sales and recognizing that this was what you wanted to make your profession,
Yes.
using your mouth, using your words, communication, persuasion. That was something that you got really passionate about, ultimately rose the ranks of multiple companies, ended up launching your own. Today, you're sitting in your warehouse right now with 160 plus agents behind you, pounding those phones, man, just calling for leads and trying to find some opportunities that you can work with and kind of work with other investors on. Let's talk a little bit about high ticket sales first, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a phrase that people certainly heard, but maybe you don't fully understand what it means. Can you explain just your view of what high ticket sales actually is and what does it take as far as either the offer or what needs to be communicated in order to be successful to make a transaction happen in high ticket sales?
Yeah. It's a really good question, John, because it's like asking somebody how long's a piece of rope. Well, it just kind of depends on the rope size, right? Like it just depends. And so my definition of high ticket sales, I'm sure, is completely different than the guy who's selling the personal jet today for 26 million. Like there's somebody out there selling an aircraft carrier today that's working on a deal. That's true high ticket sales. In my world, I think about anything from like $5,000 to $50,000. Like if you're taking somebody's credit card over the phone, or you're meeting them face to face and you're asking for thousands to tens of thousands to even hundreds of thousands, that's what I consider kind of high ticket sales. And I think that there needs to be that differentiation because a lot of salespeople are actually order takers. And so they're just in an environment where the kind of the leads are given to them and the sales transaction is pretty straightforward and they aren't really having to create a sense of urgency or build rapport or overcome certain objections. But the higher you get typically in ticket sales, up to depending on the product line, the more that it takes from a presentation standpoint, if you will, to actually be able to convince somebody or show somebody that you have the solution for whatever their pain points are. And so for me, I think high ticket sales, it's just a matter of like, I know that this is something not the average salesperson can do. And so I was taught from at 20 years old, how to extract 18 to 30 some $1,000s out of people every time I sat down with a random stranger. And then those sales principles, which are literally the bedrock of everything that I do today, I learned 20 years ago. But those sales principles are evergreen, John. And so it doesn't matter what industry you're in. And I told you this pre-camera. I said, the process is stronger than the product. It really doesn't matter. This could be solar. This could be multifamily. This could be self-storage. This could be single family. This could be literally crypto, Amazon. It could be whatever because the process is stronger than the product.
Yeah, man, I love that. You talked about really understanding the process first and foremost. And 5,000 is kind of that range, 5 to 50,000 or above. But that's
Yeah.
kind of the range we're talking about. We say high ticket sales. That's going to vary for based on who you're talking to, but that's a good way for us to at least think about it from the lens of our conversation. You
Yeah.
mentioned the sales principles you learned there are still applicable today. They're evergreen. Doesn't really matter the product. Obviously, there's maybe some little nuanced adjustments, but that process is still there. Can you give us a high level overview of kind of some of your sales principles and your approach?
Yeah. So I've had the joy now for, 10 years. I guess now, actually 14 years, I've been a solopreneur. I've had my own companies or partners, business partners. But so I've been training salespeople. And so the fundamentals of a sales consultation are the same. But I think one of the things that I try to focus on, which is going to kind of sound woo, but the very first process is actually before they ever pick up that phone, before they ever shake that person's hand. It's called the warm up, the pre pitch. And so I want my guys to understand that, hey, listen, before I go into this call, we have the luxury of we can stand up. We have energy. We have music in the background. We get to have a coffee. I'm calling somebody in Mobile, Alabama, who's sitting in their lazy boy recliner at 9:05 in the morning who hasn't had their day started yet. So what am I doing in my day to get my head right, my mind right, my everything right? So I have this advantage before I pick up the phone and go through my structured pitch. And so like I get them really set on the understanding that you have to have your pre-pitch, which is what you're doing when you're looking in the mirror and you're kind of going through what you're going to do. And then on your pitch, without going too much into the granular details, it's an assembly line. No product, no cars are made without following a process. And you can't put a steering wheel on if there's no steering column. And so I train these guys like, hey, if we're off, we got to circle back. Let's go back in because every well executed pitch has a general process and you stick to the process. And as long as you stick to the process, you create a numbers game and not a hopeful sales outcome.
Yeah, that sales process, understanding what it takes to walk someone down. I love your point about the warm up or that pre pitch because you have a chance to get energy. It's interesting you say that because I was watching a Tony Robbins video yesterday and he talked about, hey, people think, you get energy from your diet or from water or whatever else. It's like, no, it's from movement. You get
Yes.
energy from movement. So being able to take care of yourself, get up, have some movement, that's going to be the best thing to generate energy. And that's exactly what you're talking about, which seems maybe simple, but before you're getting on a very important phone call, get up, get your body moving, get the blood flowing, and that's going to make it put you in a better position to have the right energy to talk to somebody who maybe is sitting down and wasn't expecting to call, and you have a kind of a little bit of an upper hand of that conversation.
Or worst case scenario, John, you're not fired up and they just walked out of the gym. Then you're screwed. You're screwed. That guy's fired up. That gal's fired up. She just left yoga. Her mind synapses are firing, boy. And if you're not on that level or beyond, you're going to get eaten alive. And so as long as they're fired up and they're going into it, and then they know, because it's a linear process that I'm going through, and there's a lot of craftsmanship to it, and they should treat it like a craft, like a ironsmith. You're a wordsmith, and so you have to be a craftsman with this. But as long as I treat everybody the same, and I'm accepting of the no's, then it literally is, okay, it takes 16 no's to get to one yes. You then start looking forward to those no's. And as long as you don't cut any corners, again, I teach these guys how to make this a mathematical game that is a sales process. But we know X amount of dials equals leads, and leads equals contracts, and contracts equals funded closed deals. And so I try to walk them through everything from lead all the way down to funded.
The thing that always intrigues me when I talk to sales professionals is just understanding how they manage the emotional side of it. You talk about this as a math game, right? It's a numerical equation as far as we make X amount of sales, we get X amount of leads, and there's a funnel where we have a pretty good sense of how many deals we're going to close. When
Yes.
you were starting out, and for that person who's listening and maybe just terrified of picking up the phone and having people just cuss them out and slam down
Yeah.
on them, right? How did you kind of lock in mentally to say, you know what, I'm not going to take this personal. I'm just going to get through the 100 calls. I'm going to go through my script or my process, and we're just going to let the results speak for themselves. How did you manage that emotionally and kind of mentally?
It's not necessarily easy. And it's been so long that and now I'm reliving that question through these guys here. But one thing you realize is that I don't ever look up to my customers. I look at them. I'm eye to eye. And a lot of people pick up the phone and they have this deprecated kind of mentality, like, okay, and I just wanted to see it now. And eye to eye is kind of where you want to start, but ultimately you almost not want to look down, but you want to make sure you understand that I'm the authority figure. And so as you get your confidence up, you become the authority figure on that call. You have more confidence in what you're saying. But I realized a long, long, long time ago, whether I'm in person or whether I'm on the phones, and I don't mean lying, but I can be anybody I want to be. I am a strong, confident person. I don't need this sale. And you just start to realize that I'll never see this person again. Who cares if the wife hangs up on me? Who cares if they say whatever? Just literally, I'll never see you again, ever. So what do I care if you go to your car and you laugh with your wife like, oh, that salesman, he was goofy. He almost got me. I almost did. Wait till you come back. Somebody's going to get you. But I think it was just that realization, hey, I can be anybody I want over the phones and in person. And again, I don't mean lying. I just mean presenting my most confident self. And then knowing I would never see this person again. They're not coming to my family reunion. They're not calling my mama. They're not calling my wife when they're done. And I get one shot. So I'm just going to give it all. And some will, some won't. So what?
I love it, man. I have a good friend and mentor of mine who likes to say that last part. Some will, somewhat. I'm sorry to say again.
Some won't.
Some
Yep.
will, some won't.
So what?
So what?
Uh-huh.
Someone's waiting is what he adds. And he
Oh,
adds
I
someone's
like
waiting.
that.
And I love that because it's a reminder that you just need to make that next phone call, right? We're just trying to
Yeah.
find the person who's waiting for that opportunity. And it's a great reminder that, hey, it just means you're not talking to the right person. That's all, right? Certainly,
Yeah.
you got to get your stuff tight as far as what you're presenting with the offer, but there is someone who actually is waiting for that opportunity. I think it's a great way just to frame it up and think about it.
And for everybody who's an entrepreneur or desires to kind of get into the space and do it, it's one of the things that I'm of my age now where I really appreciate what I'm about to say more so than when my mentors told me. But it was just if you can't handle a little bit of rejection on the phone, you'll never be able to handle the rejection of being an entrepreneur. You'll never be able to handle the rejection, the pain, the no's. Getting told no's, 200 sometimes on the day on the phone, that is inconsequential. compared to getting a lawsuit served on your company because your competitors did this or this, or having something happen and all of a sudden payroll got screwed up because a wire didn't come through. Like the amount of challenges, resistance that you will face as an entrepreneur is so much bigger than anything you'll do from a lead gen standpoint. But like all good things, repetition is what builds those muscles and that resistance muscle that allows you to handle everything. And so if I hadn't gone through years of getting my face kicked in sales, as we all do, because this is the only profession where you will fail more than you will succeed and you will be a winner. But had I not gone through all that, it wouldn't have created the DNA that I'm blessed to have today, humbly, to be able to like withstand no matter what's going on in the industry, no matter who the president is, no matter what. Like we're rocking and rolling. We got to do this.
Scott, I love it. I read in your bio or in your bio, I don't think I read it to the audience, but that you and your team make around 2 million calls a week. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah.
That's a ton of phone calls, man. Can you just
Yeah.
talk about what it takes to scale an organization where you can have so much activity and, just really managing all of that with, what you're trying to accomplish?
So at that scale, it has a lot to do with technology. We've invested in some of the most insane phone platforms out there, number rotation platforms. Like we can tell as a number starts getting low answer rates compared to the other ones that start routing numbers to the better answering. Our data, I had to buy a data company called Synergy Data. I had to buy them out because I needed so much data that I was like, okay, I'm just going to buy the data company myself and now turn it in house. And so at that scale, it opened up a really different door. But what's really beautiful, though, John, is I now have performance data, I think, that rivals some hedge funds on Wall Street. Like, I just know what markets are working. I know what files and motivators are working the best, and beds and baths and last purchase dates. I'm tracking all of it in our business intelligence tools. And so, like, I have some really good analytics on a market based that I think that a lot of people don't have just because of the sheer scale that we're doing, which is really, it's almost grossly unnecessary.
I love it, man. So let's talk a little bit more about that, right? So you're gathering all this data, you're talking to a number of investors, and your team is obviously doing that on a daily basis.
Yep.
At a high level, what are you seeing in the market? I mean, you seeing more owners looking to sell, more distressed opportunities? Like, just give me your high level view of what's going on from your perspective.
Yeah. So it's rapidly shifting. And I would say that I've only been in the REI space for like 4 years. I made all my money in another vertical, selling leads to attorneys. I got into this. I saw it as a really kind of disruptible space, right? I saw a lot of cowboys with not a lot of structure, a lot of mom and pops, kind of like it's almost like realtor soccer moms, but just realtor baseball dads or something. Like it's just another level. There was a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, a lot of hobbyists and not a lot of entrepreneurs. So once I kind of decided, like, hey, I'm going to get into this, the market was a lot different 4 years ago. And then 3 years ago, it was hot. And about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when all the hedge funds started pulling out, it really had a catastrophic shift in what I saw out there because the hedge funds saw it first. They started reducing and pulling out capital. Interest rates started going up. And then we really did see a slow grind. And I just see it in the numbers. How many dials does it take to get a lead? And those numbers started really just going like a roller coaster, up, up. It's taking way more effort to generate a lead. What started happening about 6 months ago, John, and I'll never use the word easy. I try not to ever have these guys use the word easy or hard per se, but I said it's getting more enjoyable. I feel like over the past 3 to 6 months, people have just accepted, like, I was waiting for the rates to go down and now I'm screwed. And so now it's like, I got it. Like I needed those repairs done. I needed that new roof. I thought my tenant was going to pay. I didn't want to get out of that property because of XYZ, because of the rates, but now it's the new norm. And so as the consumers accept the new normal, it's almost pre-pandemic. It's not there yet, but we've definitely seen a significant loosening up month over month over month over the month in the past 6 months.
I think it's so great that that you're able to see that real time. One of the
Yeah.
mistakes that I think happens for so many people is they wait to read reports, and there's some
Mm.
great data, great insights in these reports. So that I'm not saying that these are not relevant, but the challenge with reports is they are always behind. They're always
Yep.
telling you what happened last quarter or last month or last year.
Yep.
And when you're actively doing this in the space, you get to see it real time, right? You
Yes,
get to
sir.
see it and you've got the data. So you're looking at the numbers saying, hey, it used to take us 20 calls to get a lead. Now it's taking us 16 calls to get a lead,
Yep.
right? You're able to see that real time as far as the shifts that are taking place in the marketplace. And I encourage everyone to be active, even if it's just talking to brokers or putting in offers or looking at deals and listings. When I was first starting out, that's what got me comfortable, is I was just looking at deals all the time, and I made a list of properties you were gonna put offers in on. And I remember almost to the day when they started flying off. I mean, I had a list of 10 properties I
Yes.
was considering. By that weekend, 4 of them had went under contract. I was like, oh, well, that's interesting, because I've had this list for 3 months and nothing happened. And in one
Yep.
weekend, 4 went under contract. I added 4 more properties. 3 went under the next week. I was like, oh, wow, wait a minute. What's going on? And at that moment, I knew things were picking up. And part of that was cyclical, but that was also
Yes.
2012. And part of that was also just we had kind of hit the bottom and things were starting to come up. So, but that gave me the confidence that following weekend to really put in offers, to be really aggressive with my actions, because I knew, oh, this is picking up. If I would have waited for someone to say, hey guys, looks like real estate's picking up, I would have missed all those opportunities. So I think it's really important just to be active and to stay plugged in with guys like yourself and your team who are actively in the market, looking at deals, talking to owners, and seeing real time what's happening. As you kind of project out towards 2025 and kind of look at the direction your company is headed, what are you anticipating? What adjustments are you making? What are you preparing for to have a successful 2025?
So on the day we recorded this, we just got the results of the election, and so that was like a major shift either which way. I think based on just the feedback my affiliates are giving me already, their mental mindset is, okay, we're ready to do more. Now we want to invest more. I feel more comfortable to invest more, invest more, invest more, invest more, invest more. So I'm really excited to see the guys that I work with who are the actual capital buyers of these assets being like, party time, boys. So that's great on that side. What do I see from my business and what I really like and looking forward to this upcoming year is it's really been surprising to me the power of parcels, these land deals. I'm telling you, we're generating small multifamily, single family, and land at scale. And the guys who are in the infills and then have the skill sets to be able to take larger lots and subdivide, these guys are printing money with me right now. I got a kid in Southwest Florida, has no business really. I say this with love. When he watches this, I'm saying this with love. Has really no business being in the industry. He's locking up deals and wholesaling them on the MLS land and just making monster rips, wholesaling just land and all from all the snowbirds who bought a place down in Fort Myers and Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda and thought that they were going to build a little house here and then life changed, whatever. And so I'm really excited because I've seen two things happen really, really big in the past year. Something called Novations as an exit strategy for investors who don't want to take down their own deals. I saw that skyrocket like I've never seen. And I've saw land deal efficiency from dialing for land deals and the little amount of effort that it takes to create those. I've seen those two, I'm going to say asset classes. I've seen those two strategies, if you will, really go big. And I see nothing stopping that for 2025.
I love it, man. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned novations and then kind of land deal efficiencies. Explain a little bit more about what novations is. That's maybe a term folks haven't heard before.
Sure. So there's this whole sub industry called wholesaling. I think most people should be familiar with wholesaling. What Novations does is it allows them almost what maybe the old school guys would call like a flat fee listing, where like, hey, you're engaging with the seller. It's not really appropriate for an investor type deal. Maybe it's in too good of a shape and it really doesn't need a lot of rehab. So it's not a good deal. But the customer's out of the state or the customer just doesn't want anything to do with the property. And you're just like, hey, you want 180. If I had to buy this cash, I'd need to be at 130. Let's do this. You'll never use the word novate. You'll do like an equity protection program, but it's just an offer. You're saying, do you mind if you get 180, can I get whatever's above, right? More or less. And so then you're listing it on the MLS and you're pushing your buyers through to it. And maybe you sell it for 240, pay out your commissions, you walk away with 20 or 30, the customer gets their full 180. That's a novation deal. It really just allows you to take responsibility for the property legally, have it go on the MLS and make a spread instead of just taking the property down like a traditional buying deal. There's a lot of really, really great people who teach novation. So excuse everything I said there to my guys that have told me better. I just explained it like crayons to a kid. Um, but it's a really cool exit strategy that's helped a lot as deals have gotten a little bit more retail. And then on the land deals, it's really just like us targeting what markets have these infills and where there's new build activity. And so what we're looking for is there new build activity, non-big neighborhoods, but are just happening in individual parcels. And then we'll target those areas, contacting all of those owners who live out of state or live in another part of the state, and then soliciting them for their properties.
Scott, I love it. I appreciate you sharing that and explaining those strategies. And that's one of the things that I always love about real estate is there's so many strategies. No matter what your skill set is, whatever your technical background, there's a way for you to make money and do well in real estate, whether it's through, again, large multifamily syndications, whether it be land flipping, whether it be, dollar for dollars, whatever it is. There's lots of ways to get in. So there are always going to be little strategies that sometimes you hear something like, oh, that's very similar to this, right? But sometimes there's just a little tweak to it that is more either market specific or situation specific that makes it relevant given certain deals. Hey, Scott, for folks who have been really excited about everything you've said, how can they work with you or learn more about your company?
Yeah. So the easiest way is on Instagram at Lamassu Leads, Lamassu Leads, Leads, or lamassuleads.com. Either one of those are great. The reason why I like to send people to our IG, John, is because I think this industry has a authenticity problem for a lot of quote unquote influencers out there. And so like I want people to see this machine that we've built behind us. It's not a green screen. This is our baby, and I want people to really see how the sausage is made before almost even reaching out and asking for breakfast. And so once you've seen that, you'll see the amount of effort and work that we put into creating what I think is the highest quality outbound lead that have ever existed in the REI space.
Scott, I love it, man. We'll make sure to put links to both of those in our show notes. Lamassu Leads. What made you come up with that name?
So this is my grand finale, man. Like I live a blessed life and I've had some really dope companies. And I said, this is my last one. And I believe in all of my companies, we should have really good mascots the kids can rally behind. And so I said, you know what was the first time? Because 2 companies ago, my mascot was an eagle. 1 company ago, it was a lion. And I said, okay, when was the very first time, John, in like recorded human history that a lion and eagle were ever found together? Like a deity, like a god or something, a spiritual protector. And so I did all my research and found out that in what was called Assyria, which is now modern day Iraq, in Assyria, it was a deity called a Lamassu. And so it was the body of a lion, the wings of an eagle. And so what I train my guys, and they all know this by heart, it's like, hey, listen, I'm a lion. I'm the king of the jungle. I'm not a hyena. I'm not waiting for scraps. I'm not joking while I'm out here on the savannah. Like I eat what I kill. I'm an eagle. I'm not a duck. I'm not waiting for handouts. I'm not flying low. And if you see me flying, I'm going to be flying high, and it's only going to be very few of us up here. And so I just want them to have that mentality of like, I'm a lion, I'm an eagle, I'm a lion, I'm an eagle, I'm a lion, I'm an eagle. Because being on the phones is war. And if you got to spend 8.5 hours on the phone every single day, you better be prepared for what's going to come. And these guys are savages. And so that's the reason why I chose that particular name and logo.
Love it, Scott. Thank you for that explanation. So glad I asked that question. Let's transition to our round of insights. Scott, give me a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
Yeah, so many. Like, where do you start? I could start from this week, or let's go with the biggest. I was sued. My last company, we were about to sell it January 14th of 2019. It was going to be sold 51% for $54 million. Dude, I was already private jet shopping. Like I was like chilling. And then ultimately my competitors sued us and it scuttled the whole deal because they saw us getting Wall Street funding. And I was never bitter about it. Like I was taken aback by the turn of events, but I was never bitter about it. But that setback though made me say, okay, cool. Well, one thing you can't ever take from me, baby, is what's between these 2 ears. And so because of that, I ultimately ended up like finding this industry and then moving offshore. And like, I live in beautiful Colombia, South America. And my kids got horses and all this other like super dope stuff. So that setback of like, okay, cool. We didn't sell the company, but now we took all that knowledge and some capital out of that, obviously, and have all these other cool things going on. That was a blessing for me.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for our listeners.
High level. Go high level.
Love
It's
it.
the most phenomenal CRM platform out there. You're drip sequencing. If you're touching leads in any capacity, I don't personally think there's anything better for following up automated. It's got RBMs, it's got emails, it's got trigger links, it's got text messaging. I couldn't run my businesses without GHL now that I know it exists.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
It's not only the last year, but my life, etc. It's by Mark Allen, Marcallen, Mark Allen, and it's The Secrets of the Millionaire. And it's a book that most people have never heard of. And I just gave it to one of my dear friends, and we just started a refi business together. And he's like, dude, this is so not your personality. Like, I thought this was going to be so Wolf of Wall Street, like balls to the wall. He was like, but this is this other side. I see this like foundational behind you. I said, just exactly. So anyways, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. Actually, I said the title just like it's The Millionaire Secret by Mark Allen, but it's a phenomenal book.
Excellent, excellent. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
I got a monstrous daily routine, but the one that's probably most for my goals is I have my goals in my master bedroom on a window that looks out to the side of the house. And I literally have my personal, my health, my business, and my family. So I have these 4 tiers of goals, and I have all of my 2024 goals, and I know which ones I still got left to knock out. And so part of my morning routine is as I have what's called a sketchbook. So not only do I see them, but I rewrite them out every single morning to remind myself and hold myself accountable for TikTok. Bro, this time's about up. So I'm really big on goals, and that's one of the best gifts that I can give these kids is teaching them how to set real goals in their lives and why goals are important.
Give me your number one insight for finding, and I should say, generating leads.
I think that you can count on your competition's mediocrity. And so no matter what channel you choose, money loves speed. And so whether it's a PPC lead, make sure you're faster than all your competition. And by the way, they're super slow to call them back. If you're doing mail, make sure you're getting those freshest lists and you're sending them out faster. If you're doing cold call outbound, make sure you're bright and early on the phones. You're not waiting. And so it's really amazing to see the caliber of competition. We're able to make money in this industry and how easy, candidly, it is to be one step ahead.
Scott, appreciate everything you shared so far. Let's take it a different direction. You are in Colombia now. Give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Lord have mercy, man. They got these, it's called El Canasto, but it doesn't even make sense. They're all over everywhere. There's like little farm fincas where like tons of, it's a restaurant on like a farm because it's perfect weather here, like day in, day out, nonstop. Never, ever, ever does it change to being perfect. And it's just like, they got these big, huge, like wood fire cooking meats all onto the side. And they just bring you these big, huge platters with like ribs and chicharron and different carnes and plantains. And it's just, dude, I love the food here. And it's all farm to table because they don't have this crazy thing where they're importing meats from China and all these other countries. Everything's like within an hour's drive, I assume, here.
I love it, man. Sounds like great opportunities, great food. Scott, you gave us some great information, man. You talked about kind of your journey coming from, into the sales world, high ticket sales, starting off, eventually launching your own firm, and just some of the things you learned, right? Some of the principles that really are evergreen sales principles. And one that you talked about specifically was that pre-pitch, the warm-up, making sure that you've got your energy flowing even before you pick up the phone so you can meet that person on the other end with great energy and kind of get a little bit of a leg up. You also talked about looking eye to eye to that potential customer or client, right? Not necessarily looking up to them, not really looking down, but making sure that you ultimately have more of the leverage that you don't need that person, but you are presenting the opportunity. And I think that mindset is so key going into the sales job. Because as you said, I mean, you're talking 8-10 hour days of phone calls. That could certainly be wearing on a lot of people. So I think having the right mindset is so key. The other thing you said that I loved was just understanding data. And you're doing all this all the time. So this is really more of a math game, right? You make a certain amount of phone calls. You've got the list. You kind of know what to expect as far as the output. So just making sure you trust the process, learn the process first and foremost, trust the process, follow that process. That's going to set you up for success. I love all the insights you gave us. And again, if folks want to learn more, they can go to your website, lamassuleads.com, but really check out his IG, which we will put a link to in the show notes as well. Scott, thank you again for coming on Multifamily Insights, being a great guest. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.